Hello. Be sure to read to the end of the story and subscribe. The kind of silence that doesn't just settle over a room, it seeps under your skin and lingers there. Emily had been in San Diego for 3 days, supposedly at a convention. Client meetings, panels, all that corporate stuff she usually found draining. She left on a Sunday evening, suitcase packed so neatly it could have passed for a display at Bloomingdale's. Kissed the kids goodbye, kissed me, too, though hers felt more like routine than affection. I chalked it up to stress. She always got jittery before big trips. I even told her I'd hold down the fort so she could focus, take a break from the chaos at home. She smiled and said, "You're the best, honey." I should have noticed how hollow that smile was. By Wednesday morning, something just felt wrong. It wasn't one big thing, either. It was 1,000 little things that started piling up in my chest like stones. We were sitting in this breakfast spot not far from our place in Phoenix. One of those cozy cafes with mismatched coffee mugs and waitresses who call you sweetie. The kids love it. Ethan usually gets the same thing every time. Cornflakes and a side of sausage. Mia draws on napkins, orders a strawberry milk she never finishes. But that morning, the vibe was different. Ethan stared at his cereal like it was a puzzle. He's 12, sharp as a tack, and he's always been able to tell when something's not right. Mia was pretending to be cheerful, humming while she colored a picture of a dog. But even she kept glancing toward the door like maybe her mom would suddenly appear and everything would go back to normal. But she didn't. Emily hadn't called. Not once. Not since she left. No texts. No goodnight video, nothing. I'd sent her a couple messages, just simple check-ins. Hope your meetings are going okay. Kids miss you. That kind of thing. But they just sat there, marked as sent, never read. No little bubbles saying she was typing back. No emojis, not even a lazy thumbs up. I kept refreshing like maybe the signal dropped or she forgot her charger or maybe she was just swamped. God knows work trips can get hectic, but my gut wasn't buying any of it. That was the moment the idea hit me. The kind of idea that feels so pure and impulsive you almost don't trust it. But it grabs hold of you anyway. I decided to surprise her. Not to catch her doing anything. Not out of suspicion. Not yet. Anyway, this wasn't about spying or snooping. It was about love, about reconnecting. I wanted her to see our kids, our life, and remember what she had waiting for her at home. I figured it might be the thing she needed, that we needed, a spontaneous family trip to San Diego. Ethan had never been, and Mia had only seen the ocean once when she was 4. I pictured us standing in front of her hotel room. Me holding Mia, Ethan with a goofy grin, all of us glowing with that warm, unscripted kind of love. I pictured Emily opening the door and just melting into our arms like a weary traveler coming home. That fantasy got me moving fast. I booked the flights from my phone right there at the cafe. We'd leave that afternoon. A quick 2-hour flight and we'd be in her world by dinner. I rushed home, packed a couple of bags, enough clothes for a night or two. I told the kids it was a surprise trip to see Mommy. Mia squealed. Ethan just looked at me and asked, "Does she know we're coming?" "No," I said, forcing a smile. "That's the fun part." He didn't smile back, just nodded once and went to pack his backpack. That's the thing about kids. They can sense what adults try to ignore. He knew something was up, but he didn't push it. Not yet. We got to the airport early. I kept checking my phone. Still no reply. Still no read receipts. Her phone just sat in the void, unreachable. But I kept telling myself it didn't mean anything. Maybe she was in one of those windowless conference rooms all day. Maybe she was with clients. Maybe. I had this tight feeling in my chest the whole flight. Mia fell asleep on my shoulder and Ethan watched the clouds go by like he was searching for answers. I wanted to believe I was doing the right thing, that this would fix something, that we just needed one good, honest moment to pull us back together. I told myself love was enough. That's what you do when you're scared. You lie to yourself in soft, beautiful ways. And so, I didn't call her. I didn't text again. I didn't want to ruin the surprise. San Diego welcomed us with a kind of warmth Phoenix couldn't fake. The kind that hangs in the air like a promise. Salty, humid, unfamiliar. As I pulled the rental car out of the airport garage, Mia pressed her face against the window, pointing out palm trees like she'd never seen one before. Ethan sat quietly in the back, earbuds in, gaze locked on the buildings rolling past us. I tried to match Mia's enthusiasm, tried to talk about the ocean, the pool, maybe even SeaWorld if we had time, but the words felt empty coming out of my mouth. My mind was somewhere else. Back on that unanswered text. Back on that little read receipt that never appeared. Emily always kept her phone close. Always. So why now? The hotel wasn't far. Just a few turns through downtown traffic and there it was. Tall, glassy, upscale, the kind of place her company would splurge on to impress clients. I pulled into the circular drive and glanced in the rearview mirror. I caught Ethan watching me. He looked away the moment our eyes met. I parked, helped Mia out of her booster seat, and told the kids we were going to surprise Mommy. "She's going to be so happy to see you," I said, hoping it would feel more true if I just kept saying it out loud. Inside the lobby, everything felt too polished, too still. The air was chilled and smelled faintly of citrus and leather. Mia ran to the refreshment stand and came back with a paper cup of cucumber water. Ethan leaned against a column, arms crossed, watching the elevators. I approached the front desk. The woman behind it smiled politely. "Welcome, checking in." "Actually, my wife is already staying here," I said, keeping my tone light. I was hoping to surprise her. "Can you tell me what room Emily Harper is in?" Her smile faltered. "I'm sorry, sir. We can't give out room numbers for privacy reasons." "Of course," I said quickly. "Totally get it. Could you maybe call up and let her know I'm here?" She nodded and tapped at her keyboard. A moment passed. Another. Then she looked back up at me with that careful expression hotel staff save for when they're about to say something you won't like. "No answer," she said softly. Then she hesitated, eyes flicking to the screen. "But I do see that she checked in with a second guest." My mouth went dry. "What do you mean?" She cleared her throat. "It just shows as a +1. I'm sorry, I can't give out any more details than that." +1. Those two words rearranged everything inside me. In a single breath, my entire body shifted from nervous hope to something colder, something sick. I nodded, thanked her, and walked back to the kids like I hadn't just been punched in the chest. I crouched down beside them. "Hey, guess what?" I said, forcing a grin that probably looked painful. "We're staying here, too. Let's get a room, order room service, maybe even check out the pool." Mia cheered. Ethan narrowed his eyes, but he didn't say a word. He knew not the full story, but enough. Enough to feel the crack forming under our feet. At the check-in counter, I asked casually for a room on the same floor. Told the receptionist it was a family thing. She obliged. Our room was 2 doors down from where I suspected Emily was staying. I didn't knock. Not yet. I told myself I needed time to think, to breathe. But the truth was I was scared. Scared of what I'd find behind that door. Scared of being right. While the kids unpacked, I stepped out into the hallway. It was quiet except for the soft hum of the ice machine near the elevator. I stood in front of the door I thought was hers and lifted my hand to knock, but it hovered there, trembling. Then I lowered it. I texted her again. "Hey, we're in San Diego. Surprise. Call me." I watched the screen. Message delivered. Then message read. I waited. Nothing. Not even a typo-filled half-hearted what. I stood in that hallway for a long time, not moving, not blinking, just staring at that door. I thought about all the times she'd smiled at me across a dinner table, kissed me goodnight, said, "I love you," with her hand resting on my chest, and I wondered how long it had been since any of that was real. Couldn't sleep. Not with her door just a few feet away. Not with that message marked read, but still unanswered. That silence wasn't just loud. It was screaming at me. The kids were already in pajamas. Mia had discovered the joy of hotel slippers and was giggling, sliding around the room like it was her personal skating rink. Ethan was quiet again, his back propped up against the headboard, watching some animated show on low volume. His eyes kept drifting to me, though, like he knew I was about to do something I hadn't told them about. I told them we'd surprise Mommy in a little bit, that she was probably resting, and we didn't want to wake her. Mia bought it. She was already planning what she'd say. I missed you this much. She stretched her arms wide, giggling again. Ethan said nothing. I stepped back out into the hallway. The door I suspected was hers. Room 1423. Sat there like it was waiting for me. I knocked once, then again, no sound from inside. I texted her again. Open the door. We're here. You read my message. Say something. Read. No reply. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe for her to panic and fling the door open with some frantic excuse. Maybe for her to smile like this whole thing was just a hilarious misunderstanding. But there was nothing. Just the silence of that hotel hallway and my own pulse thudding in my ears. Eventually, I went back down to the lobby. The same receptionist was still there, typing something into the computer with the same polite smile. I walked up slowly like I was testing fate with every step. Hey, I said, lowering my voice. This is a little awkward, but I think I might have lost my room key. My wife and I always link our cards when we travel. And I was hoping you could print me a duplicate. She hesitated. Her fingers hovered above the keyboard. I can confirm the reservation if you need. Same last name, Harper. It should be under Emily Harper. She checked in a few nights ago. I could see the uncertainty on her face. The inner debate. Company policy versus a guest sounding casual enough to believe. Eventually, she gave a tight smile and typed something. After a few keystrokes and a little hesitation, she slid the card across the counter. Try not to lose this one, she said, her voice light, but her eyes watching me a little too closely. The card felt heavier than it should have, like it wasn't just plastic anymore. It was a decision. A switch I was about to flip that I couldn't unflip once it was done. Back in the hallway, I stood in front of the door for a long time, card in hand, breath shallow, and then I slid it in. Click. The lock disengaged, and I pushed the door open slowly. The room smelled like a lie. That's the only way I can describe it. That instant, undeniable scent of something that doesn't belong. Expensive cologne, musky, sharp, masculine. 2 wine glasses on the table. One still had red in it. The rim smeared faintly with lipstick. Clothes on the floor. Not mine. Not hers either. Not all of it, anyway. And then I saw her. Emily was in the bed. Her back was to me at first. Hair messy. Sheets tangled around her bare shoulder. The shape of a man was behind her. His face I didn't recognize. He looked younger than me. Shirtless, comfortable. Her eyes opened slowly like she was waking from a dream. Then she saw me. She didn't gasp. She didn't scream. She didn't look like someone caught in a betrayal they regretted. She looked irritated, like I was the inconvenience in her carefully constructed lie. The guy stirred beside her, sat up halfway, blinked at me in confusion. His face said it all. He had no idea who I was. No clue that the woman next to him had a husband, kids, a whole life built around a version of herself she'd left behind to be here. Emily didn't say a word. She just stared at me like she was waiting for me to do something stupid. But I didn't scream, didn't cry. I just stood there, taking it all in. The truth laid out in soft sheets and cheap wine. The fantasy I'd built on the plane ride here had been quietly set on fire, and she was watching it burn without blinking. And in that moment, I didn't feel rage. I felt cold, like something in me had been switched off. I stood there, just inside the doorway, not moving. The door shut behind me with a soft click that felt louder than it should have, like punctuation at the end of something I hadn't realized was already over. Neither of them spoke. The man blinked a few times, then reached for the edge of the blanket, confused and awkward. Is this? Are you her? I didn't answer him. Emily sat up, dragging the covers up around her like she suddenly remembered modesty. But it wasn't shame I saw in her face. It was calculation. Like she was trying to decide which version of the truth would make me leave fastest. Not because she was scared of confrontation, but because I was now an inconvenience, an unscheduled variable. We just looked at each other, and everything I wanted to say, I couldn't. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to ask her how she could do this to me, to Ethan, to Mia. I wanted to know how long she'd been gone before she physically left. When exactly had she decided we weren't enough, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I just stood there and looked at her like I was looking at a stranger. The guy, he started getting up, mumbling apologies like he was in the middle of a scene he didn't audition for. I didn't know. I swear she never said. "It's fine," I said. My voice was quiet. Too quiet. "You don't owe me anything." And he didn't. He really didn't. He grabbed his clothes off the floor, tried to keep the sheet around his waist while struggling into his jeans. It might have been funny if I wasn't standing in the wreckage of my marriage. He shot Emily a look, half confused, half disgusted, and muttered something before slipping past me and out the door. Then it was just me and her. I waited for her to say something. Anything. An apology. A plea. A single goddamn tear. Instead, she sighed. Actually sighed, like this was just another complication in her busy day. Like she was tired of having to explain herself. "Why are you here?" she asked finally, her voice clipped. I stared at her. "Are you serious?" She looked away. "You shouldn't have come." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I didn't know what else to do. My hands were shaking, my heart pounding, but I couldn't let her see it. I couldn't give her the satisfaction of knowing she'd broken something. "I brought the kids," I said. "They missed you. Mia's been asking why you haven't called." That made her blink. For the first time, she looked like something landed, but she still didn't apologize. She just whispered, "You shouldn't have brought them here." I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I see that now." There was a long silence between us, the kind that stretches so tight you can hear your own thoughts ricochet inside your head. Finally, I said, "You erased us." She opened her mouth like she might argue, but no sound came out. I looked around the room again. The empty wine bottle, the way the sheets were still warm, the smell of cologne I didn't recognize. It wasn't just betrayal. It was erasure. She'd made a space where we didn't exist, where she wasn't a wife or a mother or anyone who owed anything to anyone. She didn't cry. She didn't chase after me. When I walked out of that room, she stayed in the bed. She didn't even call my name. And somehow that hurt more than if she had screamed. Told me everything I needed to know. Not in words, but in silence. The kind that says, "You're not the one I wanted to see" when that door opened. When I got back to the room, everything looked normal. That was the strangest part. How normal it all was. Mia was watching cartoons with her legs tucked under her. A stuffed bunny balanced in her lap. Ethan was finishing a sandwich from the hotel cafe. Earbuds in again, his tray balanced on a pillow. They both looked up when I came in. And for a second, I felt like I had stepped into a different timeline. One where the world hadn't just cracked open down the hallway. "Did you see Mommy?" Mia asked, all brightness, her voice bouncing like she just asked if the pool had a water slide. I swallowed, forced a nod. "Yeah," I said. "She's resting. Long meetings today." Ethan held my eyes for a second too long. He didn't say anything, but he knew. God, he knew. Couldn't sit. Couldn't stand still either. I needed air, movement, distraction, something to carry me through the next few hours until the walls stopped pressing in on me. "Let's go out," I said, grabbing my jacket. "We'll get ice cream, walk around, maybe see the ocean." Mia gasped like I'd offered her a unicorn. Ethan just nodded slowly and slid off the bed. We walked through the streets like tourists, which technically we were, but there was no wonder in it for me anymore. San Diego had become a backdrop for something I didn't know how to name yet. We stopped at a little shop and let Mia pick the biggest cone they had. Ethan got cookies and cream. I didn't get anything. I couldn't imagine swallowing anything down with the way my throat had closed up. The boardwalk was beautiful in that slow, sleepy way coastal cities can be at dusk. Orange sunlight slid across the waves. People laughed. Someone played soft guitar under a pier. Families held hands. Couples kissed. Everything felt like it belonged in a life I used to have. I kept waiting for the urge to call her, to hear her explain, to break down, scream why, but I didn't. I just kept walking. Her texts came in while we were out. First one said, "We need to talk." Then another, "Please don't do anything rash. Let's be adults." Then a longer one. I didn't read it. Just saw the preview and locked the screen. She had the nerve to tell me not to be rash. Like flying out here with our kids was the mistake. Like I was the one who crossed the line. It made my chest tighten so hard I had to sit down. Mia climbed into my lap without a word, ice cream dripping down her wrist. I wiped it with my sleeve and held her close. She leaned into me without asking, without thinking, like she always did when she was tired or scared. "Daddy," she whispered. "Yeah. When are we going home?" I took a breath, nodded. "Tomorrow morning, sweetheart. Early flight." She just said, "Okay," and rested her head against my shoulder. No complaints, no tears, just a child adjusting to something she didn't fully understand. Ethan looked over. "Should I pack tonight?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Let's be ready." The words came out too calm, too quiet, but he didn't need volume to hear what I meant. When we got back to the hotel, the hallway was empty again. Her door was closed, lights off inside. I wondered if she had gone somewhere else, if she'd sent that guy away, if she was crying. But it didn't matter. The kids were halfway through packing when I saw her. She was waiting outside our room, arms folded, wearing a hoodie and jeans, casual like she was trying to shrink herself, blend in. Her expression was unreadable, but her posture screamed control. She wasn't here to beg. She was here to manage. I stepped in front of the kids quickly, just enough to block Mia's line of sight. She spotted Emily and squealed, "Mommy." Emily moved to open her arms, but I stopped her with one look. "Mia, sweetheart," I said gently. "Go inside with Ethan. Finish packing. But, just for a minute. Mommy and I need to talk first." Ethan didn't argue. He took his sister's hand and led her back inside. When the door closed, Emily exhaled. "I didn't expect you to come here," she said flatly. "No," I said. "You didn't." Her eyes scanned me like she was trying to read a weather report. "You're leaving?" "Yes." "You don't want to talk?" I shook my head. I already saw everything I needed to. Her mouth opened, closed. She tried again. "It's complicated." "No, it's really not." We stood there for a second. No shouting, no begging, no scene. Just two people standing in the ruins of something they used to build together. Then I added quietly but clearly, "Don't try to see the kids tomorrow. Don't show up at the airport. I'll tell them you had to stay for work." She blinked, stunned into silence for the first time. And I walked away. She followed me to the elevator, didn't say anything at first, just trailed a few steps behind. Her footsteps barely audible over the hum of the hallway. I pressed the button, the doors slid open, and I stepped in. She didn't. She just stood there, arms still folded, one foot half turned like she was ready to walk away again. "I didn't plan for this to happen," she said quietly. I looked at her. "Didn't plan to cheat?" I asked. "Or didn't plan to get caught?" Her face tightened, but she didn't deny it. That told me more than any explanation could. "I wasn't looking for it," she said. It happened." I laughed, not cruel, just tired, worn out from the script. I could already hear her rehearsing. She took a step closer. I felt invisible. "You were always working. The house, the kids. It was like I wasn't even there. So, you made yourself visible to someone else." "It wasn't like that," she snapped. No, I said. You shared a bed, a bottle of wine, a version of yourself you don't show me anymore. What else do I need to know? She blinked hard, like she wanted to cry but couldn't or wouldn't. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. You didn't mean to, I repeated, stepping out of the elevator. You meant it every time you lied. Every time you ignored the kids' calls, every time you looked me in the eye and told me everything was fine. Her silence was deafening. And then, finally, her mask cracked just a little. I didn't know how to ask for help, she whispered. You didn't need help, I said, leveling my voice. You needed attention, and you found someone to give it to you. Just don't stand here pretending that what you did was some kind of emotional accident. She nodded barely, a tiny twitch of her head like she was running out of ways to fight. She didn't ask to see the kids. Didn't ask for a moment with Mia. Didn't even ask what Ethan knew. She didn't cry. Didn't plead. She just stood there, trying to look like the adult in the room. Like this was a professional setback instead of a personal collapse. And that's when I knew she wasn't sorry. She was just cornered. I leaned in slightly, just enough that my voice didn't echo. We're done, Emily. No yelling, no fighting, no dragging it out. I'll have papers drawn up. You'll be served when I'm ready. She flinched, not visibly, but internally. I could feel it. You don't mean that, she said. I do, I said. I meant every word of our vows. You didn't. Her lips parted like she was about to say something. Maybe argue, maybe lie, maybe plead, but I didn't care anymore. I turned, walked back to the room. My hand was on the door when I said it. Divorce is coming. Simple, final, like flipping the last page of a book you never thought would end this way. She didn't follow me. She didn't call out. When I walked inside, Ethan looked up from the floor where he was helping Mia zip her suitcase. Everything okay? He asked, like he already knew the answer. No, I said, setting down my bag. But it will be. The flight home felt longer than it was. Mia curled up against me midair, head on my chest, her little fingers tangled in my hoodie like she used to do when she was a toddler. She fell asleep with that soft, rhythmic breathing that made her feel like the only thing in the world that hadn't changed. Ethan sat by the window, silent, earbuds in, watching the clouds like they held answers he was too young to ask for out loud. He didn't say much. He didn't have to. Every now and then, I'd see him glance at me, like he was checking to see if I was still holding it together. I was, just barely. I didn't check my phone, not once. Her messages were still sitting there, probably multiplying with each hour we were in the air. Apologies, maybe explanations, excuses dressed up like insight. It didn't matter. I wasn't opening them. There was nothing left she could say that would make a dent. The cab ride home was quiet. Mia perked up when she saw our street, asking if we could go get donuts in the morning like we used to. I said, sure. My voice sounded steady even to me. I was learning how to fake normal faster than I expected. Inside the house, everything was exactly where we'd left it. Shoes by the door, the coffee mug with my initials still on the kitchen counter. Ethan's science project half assembled on the dining table. Nothing had changed, but everything was different. Mia ran to her room to unpack her stuffed animals. Ethan stood in the living room for a while, backpack still on, eyes scanning the space like he expected her to be there. Then he looked up at me. Is she coming home? He asked. I didn't answer right away. I didn't lie, but I didn't give him the whole truth either. Not for a while, I said. He nodded, then quieter, she didn't even say goodbye. I felt that like a punch to the ribs, but I didn't flinch. Later, Mia came into the kitchen with a crayon drawing. A card, she said. For Mommy. It had stick figures, me, her, Ethan, and Emily, all smiling, holding hands under a sun with a face on it. She placed it gently on the counter right next to Emily's coffee mug. When she gets home, can you give it to her? She asked. I nodded. Of course. She smiled, satisfied, and walked away. And there I stood, staring at that innocent piece of paper like it was made of glass because she still believed in family, in love, in her mom. She still believed Emily would come back. But me? No. Not anymore. Not after that room. Not after that silence. Not after watching someone rewrite their life without you in it. We were home, but it didn't feel like home. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But the kids needed me to act like it was. So I would, at least until the walls stopped echoing her absence. And maybe in the quiet moments after they went to sleep, I'd let myself grieve, let myself fall apart bit by bit, privately.